Emergentism is a totally non-explanatory system. To explain consciousness, you say, consciousness emerged from the organization of the mindless, lifeless atoms of the material brain. You might as well say, God created consciousness. That's equally non-explanatory. No one can be wrong in integral. They can only be right, but at different stages of rightness development. Ho, ho, ho. Materialists claim that realism, which they invariably associate with materialism, is the opposite of idealism. Materialists literally have no idea what idealism is. They have no idea that idealism has totally refuted materialism. Mathematical idealism is the only way to define and explain matter, and thus to define and explain material realism, which is of course mental realism. Mathematics is purely about the mind. Materialists believe they are on the side of rationalism. But materialist epistemology is of course about empiricism, the formal opposite of rationalism. Materialism and empiricism are ontologically, epistemologically and metaphysically the opposite of idealism and rationalism, i.e. ontological mathematics. Materialism has nothing to do with evidence and logic. It is purely about the systemic misinterpretation of facts via the fallacious paradigm of materialism and empiricism. Reality, realism, is based on mathematical minds and their mathematical thoughts. Anyone who says differently is arguing against reason and logic, against the PSR and Occam's razor. Emergentism is absurd. It's miracles on stilts, one damned miracle after another. The problem facing materialists is that they have nothing but matter in their toolbox. How can you explain life, mind and consciousness using lifeless, mindless, non-conscious matter? You can't. You can't appeal to mind, whose reality you deny, and you can't appeal to mathematics, whose reality you deny. You have nowhere else to go. You have no choice but to claim that specific kinds of lifeless, mindless, non-conscious matter, when organized in specific ways, result in the emergence of life, mind and consciousness. You might as well appeal to God, magic or miracles, because you are in exactly the same game. You haven't explained anything. You have merely stated blind faith in materialism and located the only place, matter, including its organization, where you can hope to explain life, mind, and consciousness. If you're a materialist, you cannot go outside materialism, Natch. So you have to use matter and its organization to uphold your subjective, irrational and illogical, quasi-religious faith in matter to explain all the things that are patently immaterial. You have no choice. There are no alternatives. You have cut yourself off from rational and logical alternatives. You have paradigmatically excluded them, just as the religious believer does. If life, mind and consciousness are not located in matter per se, says the emergentist materialist, but not the panpsychist materialist, who believes they are located in matter, then they must be located in the relations between material things, i.e. in their organization, and also in specific organizational features of specific atoms. This element, carbon, for example, can lead to consciousness, that element, argon, for example, cannot. Of course, you have not explained anything. You have merely stated where in your paradigm the answer would need to lie for your paradigm to be true. Not for a second have you considered that your paradigm is totally false and that it's logically impossible for it to explain what it seeks to explain, those things that have no compatibility whatsoever with lifeless, mindless matter. No materialist has provided even one reason, not one. To believe that life can come from lifelessness, mind from mindlessness, and consciousness from things that are inherently devoid of consciousness or the seed of consciousness, which is of course the unconscious, that which is the state that precedes consciousness and generates consciousness from its own inherent operations. Emergentism is laughable. It's wholly unscientific. It can never be verified and it can equally never be falsified. It can provide no predictions. An emergentist can never say, if I do this and I do that, X will appear. The whole point of emergentism is that you have no idea what X is in advance, and you know that emergence has occurred only after the fact, i.e., when you are applying a retrospective interpretation, which is to say misinterpretation, there's nothing as fallacious as 2020 materialist hindsight. No scientist at any point in history could ever have said, aha, it was obvious all along that if you took lifeless things and mixed them around for a while, life would appear. That's because it's not obvious in any way. It's totally opposed to reason and logic. It constitutes a category error and blatant magic. It belongs to the order of religious miracles. If a religious person were making such claims, they would be relentlessly mocked and ridiculed. We don't feel any need not to do the same to materialists when they spout so much insane drivel. You might as well say that if you organize platinum, gold and argon atoms in just the right way, in some sort of amplituhedron cubic tesseract way, God himself will emerge. Why not? It's no more preposterous than claiming that lifeless carbon, oxygen, nitrogen atoms, and so on, when organized in just the right way, produce subjective, conscious beings that fall in love, recite poetry and wonder about the origins of the universe. Look around your house. There is probably enough material there to allow you to make a human being. If you, the new Professor Frankenstein, put all the bits together in exactly the right way, and then you shot some electricity into the body, would you be able to stand back, raise your hands to the heavens and cry, "It's alive"? You would need to be a fucking lunatic to believe that such a thing is possible. But, deep down, every materialist believes it. After all, they think they will create conscious robots from scrapyard metal. Emergence, how stupid things become smarter together. Not. Emergence, how not X comes from X just by randomly shuffling X around long enough. All human progress has come from a tiny minority of intelligent people. If you put lots of stupid things together, you get even more stupidity. How could you not? You definitely don't get intelligence. Robert Heinlein said, democracy can't work. Mathematicians, peasants, and animals, that's all there is. So democracy, a theory based on the assumption that mathematicians and peasants are equal, can never work. Wisdom is not additive, its maximum is that of the wisest man in a given group. For exactly the same reason, integral theory cannot work. Some people are much smarter than everyone else. They are right, and everyone else is wrong. If you say, as Wilbur does, that everyone is right, you are dismissing genius and all of its priceless gifts. Nietzsche said, "The problem that I set here is not what shall replace mankind in the order of living creatures. Man is an end, but what type of man must be bred, must be willed, as being the most valuable, the most worthy of life, the most secure guarantee of the future." This more valuable type has appeared often enough in the past, but always as a happy accident, as an exception, never as deliberately willed. Very often it has been precisely the most feared. Hitherto it has been almost the terror of terrors, and out of that terror the contrary type has been willed, cultivated and attained, the domestic animal, the herd animal, the sick brute man, the Christian. We could just as easily replace Christian with integral theorist. They're more or less the same, except the latter prefer their slave morality to come in the Buddhist flavor. Stupid people kill the intelligent. They don't become the intelligent. There is no emergence of intelligence from stupidity. Intelligence comes when people start switching away from feeling, intuiting and sensing to reason and logic, to mathematics. People become enlightened when they transcend the human condition, not indulge it. John Kenneth Galbraith said, faced with the choice between changing one's mind and proving that there is no need to do so, almost everyone gets busy with the proof. That's what integral theory is all about. You don't have to change a thing, because everyone is right. The exact opposite message must be preached. People need to change ASAP because they are wrong. But they can become right, if they align themselves with the truth of reality. Does integral have any value at all? Well, no. It's just a grandiose version of Buddhism, and every bit as fallacious.